So I was just driving on my lunch break and I had another 9:23 thing. And so I just wanted to share that, give a brief overview of all of the confirmations that I've had lately. And going into this saying, I have been saying since November that Jesus is coming back soon. Since February, I have been saying that with all the research and prayer and everything that I've been doing, I feel like God has been showing me it would be late summer, early fall. That's the timeline that I've been feeling for months now. That's the timeline I have been telling people. When I saw Joshua's testimony and talking about his vision, I didn't write it off because it lined up with what God was already showing me, and I've looked into it and it makes sense. And I prayed about it and I asked God, if you're coming back before October, can you please just send me some kind of confirmation? I didn't want to see a random number. I didn't ask to see a butterfly. I didn't want it to be something that I would question. I wanted to know for sure if it was him. I didn't want it to be something that would be iffy. When God speaks to me, I don't always consider that it's him unless it's something that is repeated. Immediately after that prayer, he showed me the first thing. Within 12 hours, he showed me 3 things, all different, all pointing to the Feast of Trumpets in 2025. Since then, I've gotten another few things, so I'm going to try to rush through these real quick. So the very first one was right after the prayer. I saw the license plate in front of me, and in my head, I heard Exodus 22. I opened it in my Bible app and was just looking to see if it was talking about end times or feast or anything at all. And there was absolutely nothing in the entire chapter reading it on my Bible app. So I wrote it off. I went to church that night. This was August 20th. And as our pastor was preaching, I kept thinking about it. So I opened to it in my physical Bible, tried to talk myself out of it, but it wouldn't go away. In my physical Bible on Exodus 22, there is a chart on the Feast of Israel that has the Feast of Trumpets and talks about the relation between that and the rapture. So I was like, oh wow, okay. I was pretty content with that as confirmation. Again, Joshua's vision was basically confirmation to me already because I was already looking at this time frame and considered Feast of Trumpets a very high watch period this year. I've put a lot of research into this, a lot of prayer into this, and a lot of Bible reading. Anyway, the second one was that night I was trying to sleep, couldn't sleep, kept praying, and Daniel 9 popped into my head. So I went to my Bible, I opened it. I've read that many times over the last 10 months. I didn't see anything new. So I gave up after about an hour of researching and started scrolling on TikTok. Almost immediately, I came across a video, and the top comment was talking about how the 70 weeks of Daniel are 490 years, which I know that. But the 24th verse doesn't have it broken down the way it is later. So when Jesus came, he fulfilled it to the day. Like, he came 483 years from the time of the rebuilding of Jerusalem, the wall of Jerusalem. The walls have been destroyed since then. They were most recently rebuilt in 1535. 490 years from 1535 is 2025. That was completely new for me. Again, I've been looking into all kinds of prophecy stuff, all kinds of different points of view on things. I've done a lot of deep research over 10 months, and this was new to me. I've never woken up before or been in bed and had verses pop in my head like that. So again, first one was pointing at Feast of Trumpets, second one was pointing at this year. I tried going to sleep again, and a word, teshuvah, popped in my head. No idea what the word was, didn't even know if it was a real word. Looked it up, it is a Hebrew word that has a few meanings. So its main meaning is to repent or return to God. It also, in modern Hebrew, can mean an answer to a question. But this is a time period leading up to the Jewish High Holy Days. And it can either be a 40-day period or a 10-day period, depending on what your research into it. I am not a Bible scholar. I am not super familiar with Jewish culture, so I could be wrong with things. But from what I have looked into, it starts on the month of Elul, which is the month leading up to the Feast of Trumpets, and it is known as the month of the bride. It is focusing on repenting and returning to God and readying yourself like a bride prepares herself for her groom. That time period began on August 25th. This year, for the first time in 2,000 years, they blew the shofar on the Temple Mount for the start of Elul. That would have meant nothing to me if it hadn't been for God giving me that word like 5 days before. So that was all really cool. A lot of people have called me crazy, which is fine, but I was starting to kind of like question myself and be like, am I reading too much into things? And I just asked God, I was like, I am pretty sure you are coming at this time. If not, it's fine. I'm going to be glad that I have more time to talk to people about Jesus. It's whatever. No matter what happens, I'm good with it. Every day is a blessing. But I asked, like, can you send me just one more confirmation? And I had also asked if he could get my daughter to say something. She's 2.5. Like, she has no idea what's going on right now. We were sitting in the recliner, and she looks up at the corner of the living room and goes, we're going up there. And there's nothing up there. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, we're going up there. We're going in clouds. It was nighttime. This was not a window. There was no clouds out there. A few days later, we get out of the car, and she looks up there in the sky and goes, who's that in clouds? I was like, oh, that's interesting. I was rocking her, and I was looking at her birth sign. Like, we have a sign with her name and the date of birth and the time she was born. Again, she's 2.5 years old. I look at this every night, like it's right there. I don't pay much attention to it. But for some reason, I was looking at it, and this was the day after I had prayed for one more confirmation. And I looked at her date of birth, and it was 3/29/23. So going from the middle, you can read it either way as 9/23. It ends at 9/23. You can read it backwards as 9/23. And I've heard a few theories that if this happens on Feast of Trumpets, it will likely be in the twinkling of an eye, which can be when the sun is setting. Sunset is right around 6:30 Israel time, which would be around 10:30 a.m. our time. And she was born at 10:28 a.m. Again, it could mean nothing. Could mean absolutely nothing. But with everything else, I find it funny. Anyway, so I'm not even looking for confirmations anymore. I'm just living life. I'm telling people about Jesus. I'm ready any day. No one's promised tomorrow. It's whatever. I was driving for lunch today, and my eyes are awful. Like, I'm wearing contacts, but if I'm wearing glasses, they are like huge, thick chunks. Even with contacts, my vision is not great. So there's this electronic billboard, like, way down the road, and all I see is 23 days in like big bold letters. I can't read the rest of it. It's a blur. And so I'm like trying to squint and like read the rest of it as I get closer. And as I get close enough to finally see, it changes. And the very next thing it says is this September. And I just laughed. Like, again, on its own, it doesn't mean anything. But there is so much lining up right now, y'all. Like, so much. Just look into the coincidences and stuff with 9/23. There's a book about the rapture that was published on September 23rd, years ago. One of the authors for the Left Behind series was born on September 23rd. There is I don't know what genre, but some band called The Rapture that hasn't toured in 15 years and literally has headlines right now saying The Rapture coming this fall. Hasn't toured in 15 years. Just don't write this stuff off yet. Like, make sure you're right with God. No one's promised tomorrow. I'm going to be going live Saturday and just getting into everything that God has showed me over the last 10 months. But I really think next week may be it.